Welcome to the GenX Experience, the podcast that celebrates the unique journey of 80s kids navigating midlife. I'm your host, Blythe Alpern. Each episode, my guests and I will share with you the unique differences that define our generation and how we are navigating those differences in the real world. Join me for laughs, insights, and a sense of community. Let's embrace the GenX Experience together. Welcome back to the GenX Experience. We are on episode 31, and in the month of June, we are going to be talking about what it was like growing up Gen X with siblings versus without. So I have a couple of interviews and things to share. I also posted this question on TikTok. Got some very interesting answers, and I'll share those with you as well. But today, I have a very special conversation coming up with two of my favorite people in my entire life, and that would be my sister Mandi and my brother Micah. So you're about to hear, I don't even know what's going to happen. I'm recording this before we go into the conversation, so I'm just going to warn you, it could be crazy. There could be moments of silence. There could be insults. I'm kidding. But it's going to be interesting because you will get not only the perspective of your fellow Gen Xers with siblings. There's an oldest child, a middle child, and the youngest. So I definitely plan to ask them questions about what it was like growing up from their perspective versus my perspective, how our generation influenced our childhood, how our family, our parents influenced it, where we grew up influenced it, and what they wish they could change, what they're thankful for, what they find most annoying about siblings. So let's get into it. This will make the third member of my family to come on. Last year we had my uncle, my dad's brother, come on and chat with us. And today we've got the siblings. So buckle in, people. I don't know what's going to happen, but I can't wait to share my sister and brother with you. So let's get into my episode, Growing Up Gen X with my siblings. All right, siblings, are you ready to have a conversation about growing up with me and talk about how amazing I am? Because that's what this podcast is going to be about. You can hear the deafening silence. I'm kidding. So seriously, let's talk about, since we're all different, we've got the oldest, we've got the middle, we've got the baby. Let's talk about the different perspectives that, you have of being where you are in the sibling lineup. Like, do you think you had it easier, harder? Do you think our parents were harder on you or easier? Do you think like you benefited from being in that lineup? Mandi, you want to go first? Or Micah, you want to go first?
Mandi, you
go. I think Blythe had it the hardest.
I agree.
I think Dad personally was the hardest on you and compared you to the two of us the most personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've had it the easiest. I'm the youngest, so I had it the easiest because, as just like with any parent with multiple kids, the youngest, all the rules get more lax each year. They realize you realize some rules aren't as important as others, and so they just kind of let things slide that you guys didn't have to deal with as kids. And I would also say the one thing I would add is that I had the luxury of 4 years where it was just me. So we became even tighter as like the parent child, almost like a little more like friends because we spent so much time together that made them even more lax on some things.
And that's why you wanted to come live with Mandi and I at college. Do you remember that?
I did say that once.
The rule, you didn't like the rules. And Mandi and I are like, no, those are the rules because if we had to do it. Right. But yeah, I always call myself the experimental child because mom and dad would test stuff out. If it didn't work, you got the benefit of like not having a crappy teacher or not doing certain things. And I just had the mental breakdown later. So yeah. And Micah, so because you're the only boy, do you also think because you're the youngest and the only boy that you benefited even more and the rules were adjusted because
definitely
of that?
I mean, well, first of all, I'm not just the only boy, but I'm a Jewish mom's only boy. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we all know I was the favorite for mom and, her like golden child. I could never do anything wrong. Even when I got in trouble, mom would be like, oh, it wasn't your fault. Right. Which is so ridiculous because I got in trouble a fair amount. So, yeah, they were much more lax with me because I was a boy. And I think also as a parent, you're a little more protective of your girls. I have a girl. Right. So I'm more protective of her than I probably would be a boy. And I think the same could be said for our parents.
Yeah. And do you think, because the three of us are very close, we always have been. Not that there have been times where we wanted to, kill each other and didn't talk to each other as normal siblings do. Yeah. Do you think that it was because of our parents, in spite of our parents, because of us? Like, what do you think made us so close?
Mandy, what do you think?
What do you think, Mandy?
Made us so I guess because we were just each other, like we all went on vacations together. We just had the three of us. We hung out a lot together. Like we weren't allowed to go out during the week. We had to have family dinners all the time. Like we had to be home a lot.
Yeah.
Like mom had the rule we had to be home for stuff. So I think that just made us be close, I think, all the time. And dad had his all for one.
Ugh.
Or what was it?
If one gets it, everybody gets it.
Everyone gets it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Best rule ever.
So I don't know. I guess we're just nice
Yeah.
to each other. Yeah.
I
don't
thought you were
know.
gonna go right with the dad's rule of like, if one gets in trouble, we all get in trouble. That's why we're that's why
We're
close.
close. But I mean, we went on vacations together, which was very nice of them. But it was the three of us traveling together a lot, doing things together
Yeah.
a
I think
lot.
I would also add we were always home after school, just the three of us together. So we spent without our parents. So we spent a lot of time just hanging out together and doing things together. And I think that made a difference. We'd sneak off to
Circle K.
Circle K, right? Two of us would go, one would stay home, right? So we had some loyalty to each
Right.
other, so that we wouldn't get in trouble, because we knew if one did, we all did.
Yeah.
Right, because mom wouldn't let it. On weekdays you had to be home. You had to be home for dinner. You had to be this. You had to be that. So
Yeah.
we were always together a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Hanging out.
chores too. You know how we had the rotating chores?
Yes.
I know I
Yep.
was terrible at cleaning the countertops, but
Mhm.
the rest of the rotating chores that we had, we all had them. Each week we would be switching chores, and so we kind of had to rely on each other, and pick up for each other where one person was not as good at certain things, so we try to help out.
Or didn't want to do them.
Right. Or didn't want to do them. Yes.
Do you think that's
Mhm.
unique to our decade as Gen Xers? Because I kind of think most people's parents were working, both of them. And so you did have to kind of be an adult when you're young, come home by yourself, do your homework, make dinner, do the chores. Do you think that's unique to Gen X?
No, I have a lot of friends, and I ask people now, and I think it's unique to our parents. I think I have friends that did not do anything. Like,
Really?
I think
Wow.
it's our parents.
Yeah, I think, and I was thinking about this earlier today in preparation of this call, of like how I parent, or other people I know in our generation parent, versus how our parents did. And I think Mandy's probably better at this. I'd say Mandy and Mark are better at this. That we do way too much for our kids nowadays. I've been trying to do less and less for my daughter, so that she can do things like I'm able to. But I think a lot of parents now today, like, just not just helicopter, but they're like doing everything for their kids. From just like putting their dishes up to laying their clothes out. Like, that's just, our parents wouldn't, and I don't think most parents of our people who parented our generation were like that. And I think today's parents just are just over the top, making their kids helpless almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was asking around, like, friends of our age, and their parents made dinner for them. Their parents did their laundry. I think we did way more chores than a lot of other kids
Mhm.
did.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are, other people who, if both their parents were working, were doing stuff. Because I know, like, my best friend, like, she was doing, a lot of the stuff. And I do think our generation's pretty independent, but I think because of the way we were raised by silent generation and boomers, that we have gone so far over of like, we had to do everything. Our parents didn't care about our all the stereotypes, that now we're like, we don't want that to happen to our kids. So I think some people have gone way too far into that gentle parenting.
Yeah, I don't do that.
No.
Yes, I know.
We know.
Yeah.
No, but I think about the way I parent is pretty much all about how mom and dad parented, the good and the bad. So things I didn't like, I make sure I don't do as a parent. I don't really have a temper, right? I don't get mad at things. I usually talk things out. If my daughter misbehaves, which is rare, but I do too much, but I'm getting better at it, that our parents wouldn't do. And so, but I also think about, I think one thing that our parents did for me specifically was, mom was always like, you can do anything, anything's possible, which is great. There's good and bad to that. And I do a lot of that with my daughter. That's part of my parenting style, is like ensuring a lot of confidence within her, so that she feels she can do anything and that she can overcome challenges when they happen.
What about you, Mandy? What do you think of when
I
it
think
comes?
mom made Micah the least laziest man I've ever met.
Yes,
Because
I
most
agree.
men my age are like, they don't do anything. And Micah does a ton of stuff. And most men, besides my husband and Micah, don't do anything. Like they are super lazy. The husbands do nothing. So I think that was a nice thing mom and dad did. Like our dad was super lazy and Micah is not and was
Right.
never lazy.
Yeah.
And that was a good thing she taught him.
Which is kind of funny if you think about it, right? That she allowed him to not do anything, but wouldn't allow me to not do anything.
Which was good.
Yeah. I agree.
Because you want your kids to grow up and be able to take care of themselves and do stuff. And I do like that there was not like, this is a woman chore, this is a man chore. You're all doing this stuff. You're going to learn how to cook and clean and do your laundry and, all the things and fill up your own gas. And
my kid's 13. He's probably been doing his own laundry since he was like 9. I don't do his laundry. I don't even do my husband's laundry.
I mean, I only do my laundry. I sometimes I'd like somebody else to do some of the other chores in my house, not my laundry, but
yeah.
So one of the things, so let's just keep to like our growing up Gen X. Like, what do you think was the best part of growing up Gen X with like the three of us? What was like something cool that you think that we benefited from or that we got to enjoy that kids are never going to get to enjoy today?
I would start with the whole not having iPads. I know video games existed, but we didn't have one, right? Our parents didn't allow us to have a video game console, which I'm glad, actually, because that allowed us to do a lot more things together. Like Mandy would love to play board games with me. Blythe, you aren't as into board games, but like Mandy and I would play a lot of board games, and I do that now, right? Because I like that as a kid, and we'd play outside more, right? Where kids don't do that as much now. So I think just not having iPad as a distraction or something I can always go to and do is great growing up for us as kids. And then the second thing I'd say is the freedom we had as kids, because we don't have like the watch or the phone or the iPad where our parents can constantly get in touch with us. I mean, they didn't really even care where we were as long as we came back by, like when I went outside and play, as long as we came back by dinner time. So I think those are two great advantages that we had growing up that kids are missing out on nowadays.
Yeah. What about you, Mandy?
Yeah, I guess it felt safer back then. I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't just advertised. Yeah, I mean, we came home on our own, called mom, said we're home, and then that was it. And now it's like I'm scared to let them walk out the door.
So true.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like we had a secret, like everyone had their secret word that only you would give if somebody picked you up. We had to be fingerprinted when we were younger. And we had kids on the back of milk cartons, like sitting in front of us, and every night
there was no, my kids are doing like hide in their classroom. What do they call them? Drills?
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't
have
live
that.
shooter or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have that. Drills. They do that at the temple. They do that in their classrooms. We didn't have any of that stuff. No, I mean, our dad locked the doors. A lot of people didn't, and it was fine. And now you don't lock your door and someone's going to walk in. You could leave your car outside your garage. Now you do it, someone's going to break into it. It just seemed like we had a lot more safe things going on. And I feel like siblings played more together. Like Micah and I played G.I. Joe all the time on Sunday mornings. Not you, Blythe. You were too cool. But we hung out all the time. I mean, which was weird too, because a lot of siblings hated each other, but we did not. Or Micah and I didn't.
I didn't hate you guys. I was like,
you just didn't hang out with us, and they don't do that anymore. They're too busy playing with other kids games. More. So it was just safer, or it felt safer. Maybe because we lived in a small town. I don't know.
Well, and also we didn't have 24-hour news stuff. So like if there was stuff going on, like unless you watched, read the paper or watched the news at the certain times, we didn't know what was like going on.
My kids have a drill every 6 months where they go hide in a corner. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
They're used to that. It's like no big deal to them, which is just scary.
Scary. Yeah, we had tornado and fire drills.
Right. That's just nothing.
But we never actually thought we were going to have a tornado or a fire. But these kids today, right, they have to worry about an open shooter in their school, and it could happen.
Yeah.
Higher likelihood of that happening than a fire or a
tornado.
I do remember doing like tornado drills, and you'd be under your desk, and I'm thinking like, if there's a tornado, I want my parents, and I don't want to be in this classroom.
In this classroom.
Yeah, like, and this desk is not going to
protect me.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, this desk is going to get lifted up by the tornado, right? It's not nailed down or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, very strange. Like, what's one thing that you think kids, it's better now that you wish that we had when we were growing up, if there is anything?
I think there's multiple things. Like, I think back when we were kids, we had encyclopedias, so you could go look something up.
Yeah.
If you didn't know something, I think that's way better now. They can just Google it. They can watch a YouTube video. They can learn all the time. I'm sure your kids do this too, Mandy, but like Lottie's always asking me questions, and I'm like, I don't know the answer, and I'll just Google it real quick, or I've been trying to push her to do that more, so it's not like always like what to get the information for me. That I think is way better because they can constantly learn. These kids are way smarter than we were when we were kids. They just know more.
Right. And they can. Right. They can, it's nice that they can like FaceTime grandmas or relatives. That part is really nice.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. That they can do that to stay in touch with people a lot easier, that they don't have to like long distance calling that cost $1 billion. And you can actually see. Right. You can actually see people. That part is much, much cooler.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that is better.
Yeah. It's nice to have information at your fingertips. I mean, I think it can be overwhelming too, because it's so much and you're not always sure if you're getting the right information, but at least you don't have to do like our parents, like, why don't you go look it up in the Encyclopedia Britannica? I.e., I don't know the answer and you need to go find it.
Or you don't have to take them to the library, but yeah, it is nice that they can see people easily.
They don't have to learn the Dewey Decimal System, which I don't even think I remember how to use.
Right, how to use
anymore. Yeah.
That stuff. Yeah, that's nice.
So I asked this question on TikTok. I was like, tell me your stories of growing up with siblings or not. And I don't know if it's just only the people who didn't like their siblings or had issues responded, but I found it really surprising. Yeah, like some of these stories were horrible. I mean, some of them were really sad, but I found it kind of surprising. I guess, like, I don't know. I just assumed a lot of people were close. Not that everybody is, but I assume more people were close to their siblings because I know a lot of my friends growing up, if they had siblings, they were close. I know sometimes that doesn't, when you grow up, sometimes that doesn't stay. Like, do your friends that you grew up with or still in touch with, are they still close to their siblings, or are they not close to their siblings? They are now, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, I was this weekend, I was with the Robichauds, and like they all live in the same town. They're super close. We had a cookout on Saturday. Every Robichaud came over. And they're very close and similar to us. They had the 2 older than the 1 younger. And they went on vacation together, did a lot of stuff. They were always together. So I think they're so close. Some of my other friends, I don't think they're as close to their siblings as like us, or as like the Robichauds as an example. But I think part of that, all the things that we talked about, I was thinking too, like what we always kind of let each other know of what was coming, right? I think of, like the birds and the bees story, like here's what dad's going to tell you, be prepared. Here's what's going to happen, in high school. And I think those type of things also made us close, is that like we didn't like keep things separate. We were sharing with each other what we were going through. You two, especially for me, of like what to expect. I mean, like that's like why I was so sad when you left, right? Because I didn't know what life was like without having, my 2 older siblings. Right?
Yeah. And I remember threatening to beat people up for you.
Exactly.
So I was a very protective older sister. And it's funny because I was thinking too, like, I remember a little bit, Mandy and I, just being Mandy and I remember Mom was pregnant with you. I actually remember one weird thing where I was like, I remember like somewhere we were standing in front of the mirror, like brushing our hair. And I was like, I hope she doesn't have a boy because boys smell. I don't know. I was like 3 or 4.
I did smell. Yeah.
I knew what I was talking about. But after that, I remember you like being a baby and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, it's just always been the 3 of us. And I don't know anything else. I mean, Mandy, you were, 2, 3 when he was born. So do you remember a time when there wasn't the 3 of us, or has it just always been?
I don't remember a time when there wasn't the 3 of us.
I know. I always wonder people who have like, because some people have very spaced out. Like we're 4 years apart, but there are some people that are 10 years apart. I don't know how parents dealt with that. That seems awful to me.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those aren't as close because it's almost like a parent thing. I think A lot of my friends aren't close to their siblings anymore. Like my best friends, they're not as close.
Yeah.
I think
I
it
think
depends on their personalities
yeah.
too
And
and
the
how
effort.
different they are. I think
Yeah.
that
So you
kind of
don't think
changes it.
it's not necessarily about like how they grew up. It's more about them personally, you think.
Yeah. Or how they changed, maybe, yeah, how they grew up or how they changed or what kind of effort they put into it afterwards. Everybody changes, I think, when they leave home, and you have to work at it a little bit and
Mhm.
accept how different everybody can turn into, that everyone has different interests. And you
Like
have to, I think you have to put effort into it a bit because we don't, like, we've never lived in the same place until now,
Yeah.
I think.
Blythe and I lived in the same city for like a year or
For a
two.
little bit. And yeah, and
yeah.
then you lived here for a little bit, but you just have to put effort, I think,
You
into
do.
it.
Yeah. When you're an adult, I think you have to put a lot more effort because when you're a kid, you're living in the same house. So they're
You're
there.
kind of stuck.
Yeah. And when you grow up, you have to put effort into it. And if you're not going to, or, sometimes people have a fight and that's it, which is, I mean, I'm assuming the fight was really bad, but you do have to put effort. But I think like it's nice to have siblings because like when we went through stuff with our parents, I don't think if I had to go through that alone, I don't think I would have survived that because it was so much at one time. So I feel
Right.
bad for people who don't have siblings or someone because when something happens to your parents, and we are at that age when things can start happening, it's really stressful, and having your
Yeah.
siblings is necessary.
Yeah.
No,
And same sexes siblings can be closer or further apart.
Yeah.
Because I think we've had periods where we haven't talked, but I don't think I've done that with Micah.
Yeah. Well,
Like
because we're so
fought.
close in age, and and we're both girls, and
And you can be very stubborn and I'm very flexible. So yeah.
okay,
Right.
seriously.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
But I mean, I
Well,
think
yeah, I recall you guys growing up, and I mean, I remember you guys fighting when we were growing up. I remember Dad would come into my room and say, "Hey, you want to get out of here?" When the two of you were fighting, and I would always say yes. And we didn't
yeah.
actually go anywhere; we just drove around. I thought like never actually went anywhere. He just wanted to get out of the house because
Right.
you two were fighting and let Mom deal with it, right?
Right.
Get it sorted out because he wasn't gonna help solve it. He would have just been like, "Stop fighting!" and yelled or something.
Right. Because I think if I haven't talked to Micah, it's been like because he's busy
Right.
or traveling for work. But if I haven't talked to Blythe, it's like a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And Mandy and I talked almost my whole drive to Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda on Saturday. I hadn't talked to her in a while, but we were talking the whole drive. Right. Lottie was like in the back watching a movie on her
Yeah.
iPad. And we were just chatting the whole time about all kinds of different catching up on different things. And it's like it could be a month, it could be a week. It seems the same no matter what. Like with your friends. I think that's part of it too, is that we're friends, whereas
Yeah.
a lot of siblings maybe weren't friends. That both of you would let me hang out with you, even though I was an annoying little brother. When you were gone, like I remember Mandy's last year of high school, I was an eighth grader, right? So she would take me to things, and I know it was annoying sometimes, but she would always take me to things with her friends, which was really nice. And I appreciated that. And if we weren't friends, I don't think she would have been like, "No, I'm not taking my brother." And it's not like Mom and Dad said you have to take your brother.
No. Well, I
No.
don't. You weren't very annoying though.
Yeah, by
Yeah.
then probably not.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you were annoying to us, but like if we took you somewhere, it wasn't like, oh God, here comes Blythe and Mandy's brother.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I think we're also because we were supportive of each other, no matter, like we always had each other's back, especially sometimes we had issues with our parents because everyone does that. We had each other to,
Yeah.
complain.
Maybe Mom and Dad manipulated us by
Yeah.
They probably did.
turning us against them.
I think I think that was kind of one of the hard parts when both of you were gone. When Dad was being ridiculous about something, like he's being hard on me. I'm like, dude, I get straight A's. Like, why are you being so hard on me? I didn't have that buffer of you two to help me deal with it because I'm like, I don't understand why this guy's so mad at me. I think
It's
I'm a
not an
pretty
A
good
plus.
kid. Yeah.
Mhm.
And the same on vacations, right? When I think about vacations, the 4 years that you weren't there on vacations, although Mandy came and met us on one, I think I remember, they were fun, but it wasn't the same because there wasn't like the comedy of errors and
Oh.
things that would happen to us with the five of us. And I think, all those different, like we get lost, right? We can't get into the house, like all the different things that happen to us, like bring us closer together. And like I dealing with things as challenges together makes you closer.
Yeah.
And vacations were I was a little more isolated on those vacations. I'd kind of go off on myself and just like hang out at the pool or meet other kids that were at the hotels. Whereas we three of us were together, I never did that. The three of us stayed together.
Yeah. I mean, our vacation, our family was the Griswolds. Like, it was ridiculous.
That's because mom and dad would flip out
over the stupidest thing. And, I mean, I remember like when we'd go, like you go to AAA, you had the big maps. I feel like there was less fighting than when we got the Garmin, and then dad put it on mom's side, and I'm like, the whole point of the Garmin is so that you can watch the directions. And
it's ridiculous.
Oh my God. We always ended up in the worst parts of towns, or going the wrong way, or dad doing a U-turn being like, however got you killed. Almost, many times.
Almost.
Many, yeah. Our vacation, they were memorable, at least.
Yeah, for sure.
We survived them all.
Yeah. The Europe one, that was probably the only one I didn't think we were going to survive.
No, that was bad. That was not a good vacation at all. Because we were Mandy and I were both in college, and so we had completely different ideas of what the vacation should be like. And dad definitely didn't agree with that call. So yeah,
there were
we're all
funny
stubborn,
parts, right? Yeah. Of like Mandy getting the cream cheese.
The
cream that was hilarious. The guy on the bus in Denmark that smelled bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's still like memorable, and those are the things I remember. I don't remember. I mean, I do remember there was a big fight at.
Right. Don't express your opinion, and Elsa agrees with dad.
Right.
Yes.
But I remember all that funny stuff. And like the three of us having to deal with our parents overreacting to things.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, you would think their generation would be able to handle some adversity better than our generation, but man, they didn't handle it well.
No. It was like sometimes like 0 to 100 in like 2 seconds. Like, let's just calm down and figure out how to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a problem, and you're making it into a problem. Also, can people please not think that we're with these two crazy adults that are...
Oh my God.
And then dad too, with like, he'd put sunscreen on and purposely not blend it in to embarrass us, or like the hat and the fruit suit and the snoring. Oh, the snoring. Yeah.
That was mean.
Our vacation, they were fun. And we got to go to some really cool places. Like I remember when we went to Yellowstone, and we got to feed, like there were like squirrels coming up, and we were feeding them, and it was just getting to see things, and spending numerous hours in the car with you guys were annoying in the back seat, by the way. I'm just going to tell you that right now. I sometimes was like, can there be one less of us? Because don't touch me, he's touching me, stop touching me, you're on my side. I'm like, my God.
Oh, I had that full circle this weekend. Lottie and Mike's daughter Malia were in the back seat, and we were driving to the beach. It was like Christina, Mike, and I in the front seat, and then Mike, Colin, and Malia, Colin, and Lottie in the back. And Malia and Lottie were like, "Don't touch me! Stop touching me! She's touching me!" And I like started dying laughing because it reminded me of when Mike used to do that. Mike and I used to do that in the car to mom or his dad. And Mike's like, they're driving him crazy, and he's like, "Stop!" I'm like, remember when we did this? And I was just dying laughing about it. And then he also thought it was, he was like, oh yeah, we did do this.
Yeah, you two were very entertaining. So I was thinking about, because I know like Mandy, your kids, like Ashlyn gets called Little Burke at school, that we also I didn't as much because I was the oldest, but like dealt with like the expectations teachers had or the schools had of how the Alpern children acted. And did you find that annoying that they were like expecting you to be like me or, like Mandy, or did you not care?
I don't remember them like comparing us really.
I got it. I got that a lot.
Yeah. I don't remember them. I don't know why. I don't remember them doing that really.
Yeah. Probably because there's only one sibling. I had two siblings, both of you, and you're both much more well-behaved than me.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of like, your sisters didn't act like this, or are you sure you're related? And why do you talk so much? Why won't you sit down in class? Things like that. That obviously the two of you are very, very well-behaved students, and I wasn't. So I get a lot of that. And then they'd call mom and dad, and mom and dad like, why can't you act like your sisters? I was like, I don't know. I'm not them. I can't hold still, right? Like I'm playing with something over here the whole time we're talking.
Remote.
Yeah.
Oh God,
exactly.
that was so
I got a lot of
annoying.
that, and it did annoy me because, I don't know about you two, but I didn't grow up being like, I want to be exactly like my siblings. I want to be my own person, my own self. And so I would not like being compared to you. Although, I'm competitive with you two. Obviously, that's why I had to beat Mandi for valedictorian when she was salutatorian. But I didn't want to be compared to you two. Absolutely not.
I felt like that, like, because we grew up, maybe just because we grew up in a small town, it was like we had this expectation as the Alpern children to like behave a certain way that because of our parents. And it was a little annoying because sometimes you just want to rebel or just do whatever. And you have to think about like, oh, are they going to tell my parents that I was at this party that I'm not supposed to be at? Or like, I saw your children and da, da, da. I wonder if we grew up in like, say, Atlanta or Chicago or even Miami, like, would we have had to deal with that same nonsense that we had to deal with?
I never wanted to rebel.
She still doesn't.
You still
No.
don't.
Yeah, that would be that was probably the hardest part of the comparison, is that Mandi was like such a well-behaved kid that it was like Mandi never acted like this. I'm like, sorry. But no, and I know what you're saying, but I remember one time in high school, I was driving Dad's car, right? Because we'd share his car, and I ran a stop sign. I didn't stop at all. I just like kept going because I was following someone because I get lost, so I always followed people how to get places. And a cop pulled me over, and he comes up to the window, and the first thing he says to me is not that you ran a stop sign. He goes, "How do you think Dr. Alpern would feel about you driving his car like this?" And I'm like, please don't tell him.
Right.
Like, you don't understand. I'd rather you give me a ticket or take me to jail than my dad find out and I have to deal with him.
People used to tell everybody I'm out with Mandi, and then they'd be like, the parents would be like, "Oh, okay, you're good."
I remember that, actually, yes.
Yeah, everyone said that. When I graduated high school at 17, remember that? When did you graduate high school? How old were you?
18.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
I was
The
17
normal age.
as well. Normal.
I'm just
age.
saying I was ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Also, that was a long time ago, so
I'm just saying. I probably would have been valedictorian too if I was a year older. But whatever. Just saying.
Maybe.
It's
But you
easy
weren't.
to be valedictorian when you're 18. Just saying.
If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember once in high school, I was doing some senior stuff, and something happened, and we were doing something with the senior lot or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we just saw so and so," and they're like, "It's Blythe Alpern. Like, do you think her parents would let her skip school?" And they're like, "Oh, it's her. Never mind. It's fine. They weren't doing anything wrong." I'm like, right, because if I had skipped school or any of us had skipped school, I don't think that the punishment would have just left the country.
Skip school? That's not allowed.
I would never have done that. I was literally just driving around campus to do something for the senior.
See, that's a perfect example of how I was treated differently than the two of you. So I did skip school one day. It was a rainy. I came in. This was just dumb on my part. But, I did the morning announcements, right? Because so I did I would do the Pledge of Allegiance. And then I went to my first class, and it was like one of those flood days, and everybody was leaving. So I left. I was like, I'm going to go. Mom and Dad are at work. Everybody came back to our house. Like, all my buddies were at our house. We're doing prank calls like we typically would do. And I got caught, and I got in trouble, and I got Wednesday night school. And I told Mom, I told Mom, and she called him and was like, "This wasn't my fault." It's like, there's no way Micah wouldn't do anything wrong. And it's not his fault. Everybody was leaving. He did the right thing. Like, that's the difference, right? Mom wasn't mad at me. We didn't tell Dad because we knew he would overreact. But yeah, I didn't get in trouble at all. I did have to go to Wednesday night school, but that was it. Yeah,
I don't
precious.
Right.
You two would have been in big trouble.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I would have never done that.
I know.
I think I would have called first, like, everyone's leaving. Can I leave? Because I would just be afraid I was going to get in trouble.
Mom, that would bring me my migraine medicine and then make me stay in school.
Right.
Yes.
Or when Blythe threw up, she made her
at the
go
bus stop.
Mm-hmm.
She sent me to school. She's like, "You feel better now." I did not feel better. I never forgave her for that. Every Yom Kippur, I would be like, "Mom, I don't forgive you for making me go to school after I threw up at the bus stop." Yeah. So I
think about that because whenever my daughter's sick and she's staying home, I'll keep checking with her and be like, "You feeling better? You ready to go to school?" I'm like, because Mom drilled that in that you're not supposed to miss. And so, yeah, like, so it'll be like, "Oh, she's missed 2 hours. Oh, you got to feel better by now. I'm going to take you now, right?" So I think like mom on that.
Yeah, I've seen videos where it's like the oldest child is sick and the parents like, you're fine, go to school. And the middle child, they ignore. And then the baby, they're like, oh, can I get you anything? Do you need a cold compress? Let me call the school. And I'm like, yeah,
Sounds about
Yeah,
right.
Mark's a sucker with Ashlyn. He's like, oh, poor baby. And I'm like, stick her on the bus.
she'll be fine.
Yeah, whatever.
So did you ever like wonder what it would be like to, be the oldest or the middle? Or, I mean, I definitely sometimes wonder like, it would be nice to be the baby so that I could get away with stuff and have a break from having to try everything first.
Because being the middle is awful for me.
I would never want to be anything but the baby. Like it's the best, right? You guys have to go through everything first, right? You have all these extra rules that I didn't have. And yeah, no, I've never thought about like, man, I wish I was the oldest.
No.
Definitely not. I mean, I'm still a kid at heart, right? I don't want to be old. I don't even love like being an adult.
No, adulting is crap.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was like, I just want to grow up and get out of this house because I was just exhausted from being like the pressure that they put on me. And I think also I put on myself. And then now as an adult, I'm like, what was I thinking? I should have stayed, appreciated being a child and let mom and dad do more stuff for me because I'm exhausted of doing everything now. And just dealing with people. People no. They're just no. Especially here in Atlanta when you get in the car. I'm like, I hate all of you on the road. Every single one of you, please.
Yeah, they suck.
They do. Yeah, definitely. So what would you say to people who are, have siblings and aren't close and maybe were close? Would you give them advice of like, try to repair that relationship because you're going to appreciate it, or just do whatever you want to do?
No, I think you need, unless your sibling's like an axe murderer or a big jerk, you should have your siblings. To me, they're the last people left. They're the people that have known you the longest. Unless you have like a substitute sibling, like someone that's your cousin or something like that. I think to me, they're the last people left. They're the last people that are going to know you, and they should be the people that, even if you haven't talked to them, they should be the people that you can call in an emergency or when you need something, or the one you can call in the middle of the night. I mean, that's why you're having 2 sucky pregnancies. Your parents went through it for a reason. They gave you siblings for a reason. So you have someone that's what I think. Or you have cousins or something. Like they don't have to be your birth sibling, but you should have somebody that can be your sibling because your parents went through that torture.
Yeah.
I
mainly agree. I would say there are exceptions. I think of people who are disconnected from a sibling, and the sibling's kind of, an asshole. And so or they've done something, unforgivable. I mean, I guess nothing's unforgivable, but something, that's pretty terrible. So there are exceptions. Well, I do always think you should try to forgive and build back that relationship or have some sort of relationship. I do think there's some exceptions. I mean, I can think of some people off the top of my head who we both know, who maybe it's not the best.
Yeah.
Being disconnected from that sibling could be better for them.
Yeah.
Right. But you could find somebody that could be your sibling, that your cousin or somebody, like some family member that you can call in the middle of the night, that, somebody in the family can be your sibling.
You don't have to explain
I have a friend whose sibling sucks. But if it's a fight over, I wanted mom's china and you took it, that's silly.
It's because it's things, and and it's nice to have people where it's like, if you call in the middle of the night, you don't have to explain why you're calling. You don't have to apologize. They're there for you without question, and it's nice to have that because not everybody does. So we're lucky that we do. Okay, so we're rounding towards the end, but do you have any favorite memories of us, growing up together? Or it can be when we were young, college, now. Do you have anything that like you often reflect on or think about that makes you laugh?
I mean, all my favorite memories are vacations. When I think back of all the different things, I like, probably my favorite one was probably one of the worst, is the drive to Colorado, or the 3 of us that are in the back seat of the small, what was it, the Acura Legend, right? The small car. That I don't know. That's and when I got the hockey stick and it was
Oh
like
my God.
divided up more, then I was closer to one of you. I don't know those. And then we got stuck. The car got stuck on the light post, and we saw that lady lift her car off the light. Those are
Yep.
and like just those are all my favorite memory moments. Or like when we were hiking in Maine, and there's
Yeah,
that big
gobble.
gap, and Dad's like, "We got to jump this gap," and we're all like, "No, no one."
No.
And so we kind
No.
of like all pulled each other across the gap that, we could all fall into our death. Maybe not death, but definitely injured. Those are the things that I always think about. That main one was really funny because we were like completely lost off that path, worried about bears. And this dad's like, I promise you, if we get over this this ravine right here, we're home free. I can see the car. And I'm like, he can't see the car. I
He
don't
can't
believe it.
see.
Right.
He listened to him and go off the path. Like that was a terrible. He had no sense of direction. That was a
Yeah.
terrible idea.
Yeah. So those are all my favorite memories, just all our vacations. Cause that's when you get like, that's when you're the closest, right? Cause you're in a confined space, like a small car or a hotel room. And we didn't get separate rooms, right? We were all in a hotel room together with the three of us, like me on a cot, you two in a bed, or sometimes all three of us in a bed. And,
Yeah, me
don't touch
sleeping
me,
in
don't
a
touch me.
bathtub.
Right. Exactly. Those are my favorite memories. Mandy, what do you think?
Because I remember Sunday mornings playing like G.I. Joe and Mask with Micah in the mornings, and I wouldn't let him kill the people. They would just be sleeping because that was mean. And we would sit there every morning being like, "Don't wake up, Mom, don't wake up." And she would always wake up and send us to Sunday school. But
God,
Micah and I sitting there playing, and he would play nice because I didn't want to kill them, like I said. And I always loved doing that with him because it's just not my thing, but I would just play with him. I loved Mask.
Yeah.
So those were just fun doing that time. And the effing Clorox.
Oh yes, the effing Clorox.
That was a good
That was
dad
awesome.
memory. And when Dad used to take us to Toys R Us,
Oh my gosh, yes, we got whatever we wanted.
those were good times when Dad was always being like childish and goofy.
Mhm.
And I think Thanksgiving, like especially when we were older and we were all coming from different places, but we all would come home for Mom
Yeah.
Yep.
and to see them. Like that was always kind of nice. Like Blythe would be in Chicago and Micah's in Northwestern, or Blythe was in Minneapolis and I'm coming from Atlanta, and we all made sure we flew in for Thanksgiving and sitting around like in our pajamas.
Right. Being inappropriate at the Thanksgiving table. Like every year, Mom would just get that look on her face of she was trying not to laugh, but she was also very disappointed in the toilet humor that was coming out of everyone's mouth.
Right. Or once in a while, we would just be sitting around all playing a board game, even Blythe, Cranium with Dad being an idiot in a laughable way.
Yes.
But something just like normal that we're doing. Like we're not on vacation. Right. We're sitting at home in our pajamas, just, doing nothing, but just like.
Yeah. And Dad getting like confused at normal things. Like when you said cranium, he'd be like, what am I supposed to do? Right. And like that made me think of like the Free Willy joke where he's like, Free Willy, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
Like,
yeah,
just like stupid things like that. Or how are you doing? Hungry? We do it.
Yeah, just like when we're doing something normal, just sitting there all together, coming back for something where we're like all in the same place at the same time.
Or when we had the boat and Dad would be like, okay, let's go get ice cream. And we'd take the boat out to go to Fisherman's Village and get ice cream. Or sometimes we just go fish at night. It was just like our little, it was nice to.
Right. Or him carrying all of us when it was low tide. He'd carry us each off the boat. And then I'll be like, we don't like boating anymore. This is awful.
Oh, God. Because
Mom was definitely not happy with Dad when that happened.
No, because it's not. Just more when we're doing like normal.
Yeah, like just eating dinner. I mean, like the rule of us always having to be home was annoying, but it was still nice because we all sat around the table and talked about our days and, and just had conversations about things. And it was just nice because people don't really do that anymore. They don't sit at the table and have a family.
I mean, we don't
do that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no. We do it on Sundays sometimes, but we're usually watching TV, like watching a movie together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Going to the movies. Yeah. Taking Micah with me to see Top Gun. And then having him cry on my lap when Goose died.
Oh, he's such a softie.
Yeah, it was fun growing up in the time that we did because nobody, we just go out. Our parents just expect us to be home. Nobody was checking on us, which I don't know if that was good or bad, but the things that we did, nowadays, if we had gone to Circle K, somebody would have recorded it, or mom would have seen us on Life 360. We'd have been in so much trouble for getting just, treats that we weren't allowed to have. And
right, like the garage door is making, turn off the TV. We're doing our homework without the garage door.
They never felt the TV. I don't understand. Like, they had to know we were doing our homework with the TV on.
Yeah,
I never did my homework with the TV on.
Never.
Of course not.
You can't get away with any of that now. I mean, I tell Lottie is like, I had, parties at our house in high school. And I tell her, you could never do that today because everybody has cameras at their house. So everybody would know. And I guess, I tell her these stories of all the prank calls that we used to do. And I was like, you can't do that now because people won't answer the phone. It's caller ID. Like, it didn't exist back then. And she loves those stories. And she's so mad that more than like having a party at your house, but not being able to do something like that makes her mad.
Yeah, we did have it good. There's no record of things that we did unless we have pictures of it, and those can be destroyed or hidden. Yeah, and it's also nice that we didn't, if you did do something stupid, that there is no record of it. It's not gonna, your friends know about it, but it's not gonna like haunt you. You're not gonna go to a job interview and be like, so I saw that in 1992 you went to a party and, or you said this. Right. Yeah, it's
I never threw a party at the house.
I'm such a dork. To us to do. I would have, because the Whartons were across the street. How they never told on you, I will never understand. Like, did you bribe them?
No, I just got lucky.
Maybe they just assumed you were allowed to have it.
Yeah, took a risk.
Well, thank you guys for being on the show. You're now the second and third member of the family to be on the show. So I've had Uncle Jack, I had Christy on. I mean, she's not family, but she's my BFF. So thank you guys for.
Well, I was better than Christy.
I mean, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And she listens to this, so she'll know.
Mm-hmm.
She'll know. Well, thank you guys very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Anytime. All right. And that wraps up episode 31 with my sister Mandi and my brother Micah. I hope you enjoyed listening to us chat. It was very weird to be the host, and so I'm asking them questions but also trying to have a conversation and do all the things that a podcast host was. Even when I always have to be the oldest sibling, right? I always have to make sure things are going the way they're supposed to. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed a little insight into us growing up and seeing how close we are. And I hope that if you haven't talked to your siblings in a while, that maybe this makes you want to reconnect with them. Maybe send them this podcast and be like, look, these three people still love each other and still talk and are close and we're friends and we have each other's back. Or if you have someone in your life that does that for you, maybe share this episode with them. And remember, you can follow us and subscribe and listen on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube if you want to watch the episode. And if you do like the show, be sure to rate, review. Just be nice, because I am watching. We got a review recently and I'm going to share because I find it hilarious and I'm being a little petty, but someone said the show was lame because it was two women trolling, middle-aged women trolling for sympathy or whatever. Clearly, whoever left that review is not a Gen X, because we don't want sympathy. We don't get sympathy. We don't give sympathy. So do you not know who Gen X is? Clearly that person is not Gen X. And if you have a problem with middle-aged women, I give 0 F. So go on to some other podcasts. But I do appreciate all the other reviews and ratings. And again, this community keeps growing. Our listenership keeps growing. And I'm so thankful. And as always, if you have something you'd like me to talk about or share, all the info is always in the show notes of how to reach out to me. You can also message me on Instagram at the GenX Experience Pod. I definitely want to hear from you. If you'd like to be on the show, all the things, show notes. And I can't wait to share with you more episodes this month. I'm doing an interview with someone I met on TikTok. I'm talking about growing up as an only child. I'm going to share some of the insights that I got from people on TikTok. And let's just keep this conversation going. Gen X we're a fun group. We went through things that nobody knows but us or can see. And I just kind of love that. And I love that my siblings got to share this time with me. So I'm going to end this podcast the way I end every podcast. Until next time, my fellow Gen Xers, don't you forget about me, because I will not forget about you. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Gen X Experience. If today's episode resonated with you, please consider sharing it on social media or with a friend. We'll see you back here next time.